but you might want to revisit it for people who've just turned on the TV or the radio and don't really even know what we're talking about. What has Corbyn been banned from doing? And in your view, why? I know that's not an easy question to answer. There may be many layers and textures to the answer to why has Corbyn been banned, but tell us what he's been banned from and why you think he's been banned.
Yeah, so Labour's National Executive Committee, that governs the party, have voted today to prevent Jeremy Corbyn from standing as a Labour MP in his Islington North seat that he's been representing now for 40 years, since 1983. So it means that he will not able to stand there at the next election. He's obviously not been sitting as a Labour MP for the last couple of years, ever since the results of a report into anti-Semitism in the party and what Keir Starmer, his successor, thought was his adverse reaction to that. It's interesting, actually, that the motion to the NEC today was not actually about anti-Semitism. The motion today was suggesting that it was Labour's defeat in 2019, and the catastrophic nature of that defeat is a reason for him not to stand again, essentially saying that Labour's future success or potential future success rests on him not being involved any further, which obviously has caused quite a lot of ructions, obviously, amongst his supporters and people on the left of the party who think that, you know, he should be able to stand again, and also think that in terms of sort of democracy, that the local party, the Islington North Labour Party, should be able to decide who their candidate is and not be overruled by the National Party.
And is there any suggestion that Islington North is up in arms about this and clamouring for Corbyn to be allowed to stand, or is there an indication that they're quite happy to follow the lead of the National Party and not desperate to have Corbyn represent them?
Yeah, no, very much the former. The local party have been big supporters of him and are very unhappy about this. I think unhappy just about having this decision imposed upon them in the first place, but also the fact that they are, you know, if you're looking for Corbynites, I would say that in the heart of Corbyn's own constituency is where you might still find them. Yes. So yeah, there is a lot of unhappiness about this, and it's part of a wider plot, I think, that the left see as sort of Starmer's Labour sort of trying to crush the left and preventing left-wing candidates from standing in various seats. And this obviously is the most high profile of them, and it remains to be seen whether Jeremy Corbyn decides to stand as an independent next time, and perhaps the sort of headache that might cause Starmer.
And how is this sitting with the rest of the Labour Party, or indeed the other parties? The concept of Sir Keir Starmer having stood shoulder to shoulder with Jeremy Corbyn proudly and declared frequently his allegiance and his fealty and his reverence for Jeremy Corbyn and his legacy. I mean, he really did. He didn't at all stand apart from Corbyn or try to distance himself from Corbyn when Corbyn was leader of the party. So doing so now, is that viewed in the same way as Rishi Sunak was viewed when he resigned and people thought that he was disloyal to Boris Johnson? Or is this viewed very differently as a way of saving the Labour Party from oblivion? I mean, how is Sir Keir Starmer rated in distancing himself rather late in the day from Jeremy Corbyn?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's this kind of stab in the back theory amongst some Conservative MPs about Rishi Sunak, that he essentially tried to prize Boris Johnson out of the number 10 so he could move over from number 11 into number 10. I don't think necessarily there's quite the same feeling within Labour Party. There's a feeling that obviously Corbyn was the leader in their terrible defeat in 2019. So there's a feeling that the party has to move on from the Corbyn era, whether it has to do so with such a dramatic break. And as you say, Keir Starmer was part of his shadow cabinet for a long time. He professed to want to put Jeremy Corbyn into Downing Street as Prime Minister if they won in 2019. I do think, though, that the party has done a lot of soul searching in the past few years and wants to work out how it can turn things around from that kind of historic defeat. And I do think that Starmer is involved in that process, and I do think that he's backed by much of the parliamentary party. He's still yet to win over the totality of the membership. There's also a bit of anger, I think, amongst the sort of people on the left that felt that he was sort of suggesting when he took over that he would carry on the Corbyn project in terms of the policies, but with a different kind of leadership. And instead, he's kind of renounced all of those kind of policies in 2019 and says he's starting again, which I think has wound up some of the members, especially those who joined as part of the Corbyn project, who wanted to see a kind of left-wing policy formula. So it remains to be seen. I think the polls are doing well, so I think that's what's keeping a lot of internal dissent quiet, the fact that Labour are 20 points clear. So you can't really sort of criticise Starmer for that. But I think as we get closer to an election, if those polls start to narrow, if Sunak starts to do well, then I think there might be some questioning about what the kind of vision is for the party under Starmer and that kind of break away from Corbynism.